Hi, thanks for joining me today. This week we're going to take a look at Sadhana, the second sutra in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. We're going to take a look at how we live our yoga off the mat, how we use the tools found within our practice to help us to come back to truth, and how we can use this to let go of attachments that might keep us bound in our patterns and samskaras. In the second sutra, Patanjali talks to us about the eight-limbed path of Rajas Yoga. In the eight-limbed path, we find the yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dhyana, and samadhi. Each one of these facets of the yogic path helps to awaken us into our enlightened state of being. The yamas and the niyamas help us to observe both moral and spiritual observations. Our asana practice helps us to align our physical energy and maintain good health. Our pranayama practice gives us the ability to cleanse and clear the energetic pathways within the body through breath practices and kriyas. Pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses, and it helps us to turn inward and learn how to study ourself. Concentration, or dhyana, is a form of meditation that, if practiced over time, can yield us to dhyana. Dhyana yields samadhi, or enlightenment. Now, it's important to remember that we are all enlightened. The process of awakening comes through the process of self-study and diligent practice. When we establish ourselves in practice, we can begin to take these tools and use them off the mat. Remember in Samadhipada, when Patanjali tells us that there are only 5 mental fluctuations? When we can take this information and apply it to our relationships with others and our day-to-day interaction with human beings in the grocery store or even on the road on our way to work, we can begin to have more of a perspective, and we can be more objective. When we're more objective, we're more compassionate. We're less reactionary. We learn to respond, and that really is the key to awakening. When we are not in practice, we mistake our perception to be universal truth. We think we're right. Sometimes we even fall into the trap of righteous indignation. This is really a misunderstanding because our perception of the world is not universal truth. We go a step further and we add a story to it. That verbalization creates more gripping and attachment. If we can stop ourselves and identify our perception of what is going on and then pull back and observe without judging ourselves or the other person, we can begin to see that our perception is just a mirror of our attachment. Are we really willing to let go of that attachment? Sometimes we need to use tools like compassionate self-forgiveness to let go of attachments that are keeping us bound in negative patterns of behavior that really aren't serving us. As you move through this week's content, you'll be introduced to the concept of the 4 energetic bodies. We are embodied through karma. We have a physical body, an intellectual body, an emotional body, and a spiritual body. Each one of these bodies works together interdependently to create our perceived reality. When we are tending to each energetic body and developing a relationship with it, we're more likely to notice when attachments are pushing us towards samskaras, or patterns, that are not serving our highest self. If we negate the practice and just continue to perpetuate these patterns, we ultimately suffer. We believe that we're separate, and we become rigid around our perception of reality. We invite you to use this concept of the 4 energetic bodies to develop a journaling practice. Some teachers call this practice the pies practice: physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. In your journal, create a 4-square quadrant, drawing a line down the center of your journal page and then a line in the middle across the page. Each quadrant will represent one of the energetic bodies. I like to label each box. One box is labeled physical, one intellectual, one emotional, and one spiritual. Then you can check in with each energetic body. You might ask yourself, how am I feeling today in my physical body? Be honest with yourself. Feel into the physical body and notice what sensations arise. Perhaps you're tired, or maybe you have a lot of energy. Take a moment to just write a sentence or two describing the way that you feel in that particular energetic body. And then note how you can support your energetic body. For example, let's say that I sit down to journal. I create my little graphic organizer. I label each box, and then I ask myself, how do I feel physically today? Let's say I feel tired. I might write a sentence like, today I feel tired. The next sentence I'm going to write is going to help me to support that energetic body. I might write something to the effect of, instead of a vinyasa practice today, I'm going to rest. I'm going to take care of my physical body. When we can check in with each of our energetic bodies in this way, we can develop a relationship with them. When we bring all of the energetic bodies together as a whole, we create the whole spiritual experience. The intellectual body is your mind. What you do to stimulate your mind is important. Sometimes we feel bored or disconnected. Sometimes when we feel bored or disconnected, we engage in behaviors that maybe aren't really serving us. Check in with your intellectual body and ask yourself how you're feeling in your intellectual body today. You might feel stimulated. And if you feel stimulated, you might decide to read a book or write a poem, or maybe you decide to write a blog post. Let's say you don't feel very stimulated, or maybe you even feel down on yourself. Maybe you feel like because you're not stimulated, you're not worthy. This is a limiting belief, and it's a misunderstanding. When we identify limiting beliefs through this pies journaling method, we can clear them using compassionate self-forgiveness. Compassionate self-forgiveness recognizes that we have bought into something that just isn't true. We can then identify the judgment and forgive ourselves for buying into it, reframing the cognitive belief with something more positive and uplifting. Our emotional body is made up of the way that we feel. Are we happy? Are we sad? Are we excited? Or are we depressed? When we check in with our emotional body, we uncover the emotions that are driving us through that particular experience. Let's say I check in with my emotional body and I feel sad or disconnected. I might then think of ways that I can feel connected and more joyful. Perhaps it's taking a walk outside with my new puppy. Or maybe it's calling a friend and connecting over the phone or a video conference. This gives us the opportunity to really be authentic and honest with ourselves. Our spiritual body is a culmination of the whole experience. Do we feel connected to Source? Do we feel connected to others? I might check in with my spiritual body and think that I don't really feel connected. Maybe I feel separate. And if I feel separate, I might want to do something that helps me to feel more connected. Limiting beliefs can be attached to any one of the 4 energetic bodies, and we deal with them the same way regardless of where they stem. Identifying the judgment and forgiving yourself for buying into it will allow you to let go of the attachment you have around that judgment. It frees you from the projection, and you can be in your authentic truth, balanced, awake and aware, ready to engage with the present moment. Take time to really steep yourself in the information found in this section of training. Many times people are introduced to these tools, and maybe they do them once or twice, but they don't really stick to it. We invite you to sit down and journal daily. If daily is just not feasible, try to journal once or twice a week. Checking in with the 4 energetic bodies will really help you to develop a relationship with yourself where you become the primary focus. This is a fundamental part of yoga. It's also a fundamental part of our experience as human beings. Think of all of the times that you've looked outside for validation, for happiness, for joy, for even connection. Is it possible that perhaps we're looking in the wrong direction? Is it possible that we're being called home to develop a relationship with ourselves? Can you validate yourself and create a relationship with your experience where you don't feel the need to have external validation or praise? Although these are great things to experience and we relish them when they come, we shouldn't be dependent on them. You have everything you need just as you are. You are whole and complete, perfect in your experience right now. There is nothing that you need to do, attain, or achieve to be whole, complete, connected. I hope that you find these tools helpful and that this week you can begin to develop a ritual around your relationship to self. Be well, yogis. Namaste.